Hello and welcome to the Monday Agenda. Towards the end of 2019, we had a National Ecological Agricultural Conference in Dodoma, which had an objective of ensuring that Tanzania, both public and private, starts to embrace ecological agriculture in Tanzania. And with me on the program is Ambassador Frederick Kafero, the FAO representative in Tanzania. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so
Senior
much.
Program Officer for IFAD Tanzania, Dr. Motima Juma, welcome to the program. And of course, His Excellency, the French Ambassador to Tanzania, Frederick Clavier, very welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Maybe to start with you, Your Excellency, why is France supporting ecological agriculture in Tanzania?
This is not only a European task or an American task or an Asian task or an African task. It's the task of everyone around the world. And it's not only a question to the humanity to survey for the next decades and centuries, but also it is a question of economy. It means how to feed our populations, and mainly in Africa where the population growth is quite impressive, but also to make the countries working together in terms of new ecology. So we are speaking about climate change mitigation. We are speaking about climate change capacity to create jobs. We are speaking about climate change, also environmental changes, which are dealt by all the countries around the world. So it's an international question. The UN Security Council, in some of its programs, have said that food security will be in the next decade a high-level priority. So the point is for France to work with its allies and partners, such as Tanzania, to see how to put a new input in agriculture by having, from one hand, the traditional capacities of agriculture, and from the other hand, a new wave, which is the agro-processing respecting ecology.
Thank you so much. You also mentioned about food, availability of food. Maybe if we pick from Ambassador Fred Kafero, one of the concerns to as far as conventional farming is concerned is the fact that, you know, the population is, His Excellency the Ambassador has mentioned that the population is on the increase. And organic agriculture vis-a-vis conventional farming speaks about, you know, improved seeds, fertilizers applications, so that we have a bumper harvest. But it does not regard whatsoever on the quality of life that, you know, the person will have at the end of the day, from fertilizers, pesticides, you know, all sorts of chemicals that are put in the agriculture. What's your take on this?
First of all, I think that the point you're raising is very, very important with regard to an increasing population, but also increasing hunger. I should say also that even without an increasing population, we have factors that impact seriously on the ability of populations to be food secure. The ambassador mentioned the issue of climate change. Climate change is such a big threat to food security. Last year, 2019, FAO released a report together with the UNECA on the state of food security in Africa. And it showed clearly that we had about 257 million Africans who were still going hungry. Much of that had to do with factors other than population increase. And one of those had to do, of course, with the conflicts in the continent. Climate change featured seriously. I mean, increased drought and floods and all these kinds of things. So it's a reality that we have a challenge, but also that increased diversity in terms of the food that is produced and eaten. So diversity of foods is very important for dealing with the problem of food insecurity and malnutrition. And that is the essence that we have when we talk about agroecology in FAO, because it's able to respond to that, it's able to respond to the issues of the environment, it's able to respond to the social and traditional and cultural norms. It's able to respond to this diversity of foods and healthy diets. So, in a way, that's our response to this question of hunger in the world.
Dr. Motima, you play a very vital role as IFAD, but as well as TOAM, towards giving advice and guidance to the government on ecological agriculture. What are some of the plans on the way to ensure that the government, especially from the ministry all the way, the parliamentary committee, because they put the policies in place. What are the plans in place to ensure that they embrace, they take over, and slowly phase out conventional farming?
For me, the first thing I take is it was the one of the kind. It makes people realize that this issue of agroecology is not just the issue of civil society organization alone. We are all part of it, the government, private sectors, and every other institution. It opens up all the opportunities that are available in it in terms of, like the ambassador has talked about, in terms of what kind of a job creation that can come out. If we need to do biological pesticide, what are the opportunities in that with the resources that are available? What can we do to help our farmers? What are the issues on non-communicable diseases that are spreading? So the 3 days we are there, the networking, the exchange, the learning was for me the #1 success. So now you can talk about organic and tell person that you remember the conference that we had there. And from here, our role, mainly as TOAM now, is more of keeping the momentum. We had a lot of discussion with the government. We are very thankful. The minister was there, the parliamentarian was there throughout the session, but we need to keep that momentum. We need to keep the momentum in the things that we have agreed that they will be followed up. The policy dialogue, the issues of the specificity that are needed in terms of agroecological, organic, that needs to be respected in terms of what else it brings into the country, the opportunity this country has, which is huge, even in tapping the market for the organic agriculture, even in our own traditional crops, the possibility of having a section or a unit within the Ministry of Agriculture which is closely following up in terms of what needs to be done in advocacy, in capacity building, in training, in support, in also monitoring the influx of the chemicals that are coming into the country. Because for me, that's another issue. With an open trading, we are being flooded with the chemicals, and very now and then you hear that these are banned in the Western countries, but in our countries, nobody is looking into that as a regulation. Frightening is the amount of chemicals, pesticides in our fruits and vegetables. The minimum level issue is only for the export. When they are exporting beans and carrots and the like, they look into the minimum. Mm-hmm. What goes into Kariakor does not observe the minimum level. So the level there is shocking. And they don't even expose to tell us how much we are eating from the market. So we have to work with the TBS, work with the Food and Drugs, work with everybody to try to minimize this. And also, yes, this is another way of farming and it needs support. And we'll be very happy if we even get a budget line from the government. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
But we can only be able to get the budget line if the government has fully embraced it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and having the parliamentarian and having the chair of the Committee of Agriculture, for me, that's one step. And then they are looking at us as a civil society organization, the development partner, the like of the French embassy, the like of FAO. How much? Because FAO is a renowned. If FAO is, I used to say this, and FAO people say, what did you say that? If the FAO tell the government, this is not getting you anywhere in terms of increasing productivity, sometimes we listen much better into that one. So we use us as we go for the conference, and we use ourselves moving forward to say, so what is next? Yeah, what is next? And I'm hoping to have another discussion with the ministry to say, these are the things We need now to walk our talk. You have agreed with us, this is going to happen. Can we see the progress? And then before we realize in 2 years, we would like to call another conference. And we don't want to discuss exactly the same thing, that issues are not being taken up, the government is not very clear, imposing a lot of other checking which are detrimental to the certification. It should support certification, it should support this, the policy has to be very clear. These have to be done. And especially at a policy level, which is much easier. And then at a practical level, you open the room for other players to get into.
Especially the private sector.
Exactly.
Your Excellency, you mentioned in your opening statement the issue of climate change. Probably the viewers would wish to understand, how does ecological agriculture address challenges in the country?
Yes, respond to it first. I think it's important to start by saying that today in Tanzania, 10% of the agricultural production is dedicated to agroecology. I know that he has in mind to put agroecology in his national strategy, so that to give more capacity, more rooms to agroecology. As it has been said, and I think it's very important to my view, is first, yes, agroecology is very compatible with public health for everybody, for everyone of us. For two, that it gives new capacities of jobs for the young generations of farmers in this country. And I've been struck during the conference to learn that today 500,000 of smallholders farmers are agroecology compatible. It means that they deliver some products which are on agroecology certification. It's very important. It means that 500,000 is quite numerous in cooperatives. So it means that the movement is here. And for third, that it creates jobs and a new economy. When I see in my country, in Europe, France, the people are more and more requesting some agroecological products. And my view is to say that Tanzania, if the effort is made to accelerate agroecological products produced in the country, locally speaking, some doors are open to the agri exports from the country, Tanzania, to Europe, and mainly to France. So it means with agroecology we do cover public health, capacity for a new generation of farmers to work in this country in good conditions and not to go in the cities. It means to remain in the different regions of Tanzania for free, that the economy is very much sustainable in the relations with Europe and mainly with France. I repeat, due to the high level requests of organic products. And so if we can reduce, this is the case in France, if we can reduce, let us be pragmatical, it will be made from today to tomorrow. So it means that climate change, it is your question, climate change, we do have to adapt ourselves to climate change. And by reducing pesticides and all chemical products, and to give chance to the agroecology, we are giving capacity for the human being to survey, and to the young generation of farmers, smallholder farmers, to create a new generation of food quality, and we do need it. This is why France has decided to support Tanzania with 2.6 million euros for 3 years on agroecology, because we think that Tanzania, due to its capacity, can be the platform for the future. To need its own population, which will grow very quickly in the next decades, but also to export in the neighboring countries according to the necessities. So let us give the points in our mind that Tanzania can be the food security platform for its own population for the future, plus to gain some markets in Europe and mainly to France, because I will myself promote the Tanzanian products if I'm sure that they are non-organic and they are agroecology certified.
Absolutely. Ambassador Fred, Motima on an explanation, Dr. Motima said, that the issues of chemicals that are not applied anywhere else in the world, they've stopped using them. They're still literally being brought to Africa, Tanzania for our case, and they're actually being used. As FAO representative, again, you play that advisory role to the government. She even reiterated that you once you make a statement, it's a statement. Where do we stand to as far as seizing or putting a stop to not only application, but we apply because we have them in our disposal, to ensuring that we do not have them, so we do not apply them in our fields.
We work with institutions in the country. Besides the ministry, we also work with the departments and agencies. In this case, we talk about TPRI, the issue of pesticides. We work very closely with them. We provide them with the information. We invite them to ensure that as an institution they play their role. And I should say that actually TPRI is doing a good job here. We have also sub-regional and regional that have to do with the management of pesticides in agriculture. In fact, as I talk now, there is already an ongoing discussion with the Ministry of Agriculture on a new project, which is a sub-regional project taking a number of countries in the SADC region to deal with this issue of the pesticides. So it's a reality that there are weaknesses here and there. Sometimes it's also very difficult to know what's going on because of the weaknesses in the monitoring and also systems. That the conference that we had on agroecology in Dodoma was a fantastic opportunity in which we also saw the goodwill on part of the government. Those of you who were there should have seen how animated the minister was when he was actually talking about these issues, from a personal point of view, but also from an institutional point of view, and the appeal he made to development partners to work together collaboratively to support the building of an institution, however small it is, within his ministry, to be able to pursue these issues. For me, was really a very good commitment on the part of government, which we need to really build on and see how we can support. And quite frankly, the issue of climate change now necessitates that we move faster than we used to do. Agroecology has been around for generations. Your grandparents, the way they were farming, as you know, was natural. Mm-hmm. They had all these agroforestry systems. They had, even when they didn't know this is agroforestry, but they already had.
And they lived longer.
And they lived longer, of course. They were growing natural foods and indigenous, traditional vegetable systems. These are the kinds of things that we need to transition back into in terms of the natural, in the way we manage the planet, because quite frankly, if we manage the planet in the way that we are managing it, it's not very sustainable. So I think that for us in FAO, when we talk about scaling up agroecology, we're talking about transitioning into these systems that, in the first place, ensure that the planet is well managed. Two, that they respect the knowledge, the indigenous knowledge that is available among the farmers to be able to, but of course mindful that there is new scientific evidence and knowledge that can be blended with this indigenous knowledge to be able to move even faster. And so for us, partnerships are very important in this respect, partnerships with research, with academia, and all those kinds of things.
Dr. Motima, you as TON were the lead organizers. You coordinated that conference, and at the end of the conference, a few or many action points were taken as deliberately to see agroecology moving forward. Would you share some of this to our audience? We really wish to know what transpired in Dodoma.
One could say that maybe we get overambitious because we thought that's an opportunity now. let's put down the issues that we want. So the list could be really long. The one that we had and we confirm on it is that there was a recognition that yes, this is also another form that we can do our agriculture. Not as it was before in the early 2000s when we were starting TOM. It was more of, this is a hippie thing, this is, will never be able to move out, you cannot work without chemicals and the like. So once that recognition starts to come in, for me, I just tick. I put a tick on that one, that yes, that has come in. The other one, which we already talked with, also with Fred, is the development of that institution. The minister promised us big, he promised us department. We could say like, even a section will be okay to start with. As the ambassador was saying, let's move step by step. And my example was always that the question which comes very often from the public, you are confusing people. You are telling them to use urea, and then you are telling them to use compost and the like, which way they should go. My advice is educate people. My advice is, if it is for me, I will tell them we are changing, and we all know where is the origin of the urea and how did it come. And we all know who is benefiting from urea. It's not the farmers who are producing, it's the fertilizer company, and they are huge and they are giant who are making that one. And as TOAM, we are really pushing that, because the first step is to have a task force, and the government has agreed to establish a task force in terms of what are the roles and responsibility, how do we move forward, what is the strategy of the development of the EOA within the country. Once we firm up that, and then it is recognized in the policy, and then it is part of SDP2, that this is a strategy, we have to see how we move forward with this. That is another thing that is important. SDP2 does not say that do this.
Okay.
Yeah, it says increase production and productivity. Organic agriculture is faced with the challenge of putting more and more of scientific evidence, which is challenged, while that one is not even challenged in the conventional, of which I always say that in our country, most of our smallholder farmers are neither here nor there. They are not really proper conventional farmers of the like I have seen in Denmark or in France, and they are not really organic farmers of the like I've seen in the same countries, and even in the USA. So, but where is the easier to move them is to move them to the organic than to move them to the conventional, which is more rigorous in terms of what are the input you are putting in to know them. So, but if I move on this side, and if I teach them how to prepare bokashi, how to prepare compost, it's easier for them to understand, because I'm talking for the things which they have them and they're having them in their surroundings. When you go into this, into the second level, where you are dealing with the government or with the authority, you can be questioned. So that also is an area, and we are happy that the government has agreed to spare one of its research institutes, Bihawana in Dodoma. Yes, it is in an area which is arid, but us as an organic people, we like that challenge. We would like to tell them that we can transform that, we can tap the water which is available, we can put up the mulching and everything else, and it can be productive. So it will be a very nice show-on. Are they going to agree Bihawana to be a center of excellence for organic? Lifetime. Because organic needs time. You are building the soil and you have to see how you are using it as time goes. But if today we are told Bihawana, and then tomorrow they said, okay, no, move out of the Bihawana, now you go to Ilonga, and now we want to use chemicals in Bihawana, so we don't have this continuity. And this is what we want to see coming out from that task team after that discussion, then building that one up to go into that. We are happy the curriculums have included, we are happy the universities are picking up, but we need also to find a way how we can use these graduates. So those are a few of the several issues that we put it up, answering the FAO call, we are answering into the, what do they call it, the family family farming here, and we are answering,
Decade of family farm.
the decade, and we are answering all these calls in terms of the international call, or also in terms of it. I don't want to go and expand more in terms of the climate change. The ambassador has already talked about it, but if we come out with the more and more farmers, we had a discussion with the PS one time and say, maybe we should try zoning and say this area here, we are just going to practice organic. And I was convincing them, maybe you should also try to help, maybe we should also try to increase budgets like it's done in US, as they are producing all the chemicals and herbicides, but they are also supporting organic. Maybe we should do like in the region countries where when you convert to organic, you get compensated, you get supported, you are getting encouraged. So this way then we can maintain that stability which you want. But I believe that it is possible, and I believe that our future going forward, if we institutionalize organic, we will reduce entry into the forest, which is now going on dramatically. People are just clearing new area for planting. We will reduce erosion, where we are being told that Tanzania is the first country which is feeding Indian Ocean with the topsoil, highly fertile soil. They are feeding it to the fish in the Indian Ocean. That can be reduced, and all other important aspect of it. So I look forward for this, and I'm glad that you are putting us into the agenda, and I hope that we can have another program even in Kiswahili to make sure that the ministry hear that you promise. And now you have people on your knee following, on your heels, following what you have promised, so that we move forward for this agenda.
Okay, as we look forward to that Swahili program, probably the task force should be in place as well in good time, so that they don't take a lot of time before actually actions are taken. Your Excellency, the Ambassador, there's a lot that we can learn. We started, if I recall in history, agricultural revolution started in Europe, then we merged and everything, and then we've lost it in Tanzania, and we are happy that we've received that enormous support from you. But the viewers as well, and especially the farmers, would really wish to understand how then can actually ecological agriculture support farmers to actually make more income. Because at the end of the day, you talk of farming activities, but they also look onto family income and economies as well. So how does this support actually the farmers, especially the smallholder farmers that we've mentioned, to actually have an increased income in their production and productivity?
Very frank, first, the two programs we have dedicated to agroecology in Tanzania, one of them dedicates 1 million euros for 2019-2020 to support 8,000 smallholders farmers in Tanzania. The result is quite interesting. It means that first is education, and to promote the ideas of agroecology, as we said, respecting the climate, the soils, the water which is used. So it is not only in terms of education to reduce the use of pesticides and chemical products, but also to use the better sources of agriculture which exist. I mean water, I mean the soils, I mean the forest. So to be able to work in good connections with the different assets which exist with the farmers, and to permit them to use them in the better way possible. So first is education, and to promote programs which with a sort of propaganda are dedicated to them to explain how to better work in this view. My second point is innovation, because nothing can come without innovations. So it means to have more technical capacities in terms of instruments, but without taking chemicals or pesticides. And for this, experts are dedicated to work with Tanzanian smallholders farmers to see what type of innovations can be dedicated. Can be, for example, irrigation or little dams, which can be useful for community, for cooperative. So I think it's very important to be inventive in this prospect. And so to respond to you directly, my 2 points are education and pedagogy. And in that sense, it is important to work together because we also have to learn from you, from Tanzania. And in that sense, the perspective, I repeat, is to create new markets. The market in Europe, in France, does exist yet, and it's important to fulfill it. And I repeat that Tanzania can make it with a good national strategy is in the view to integrate agroecology. And then, to my view, is that it is important in terms of demography to sustain development in the different regions of the country and to avoid fluxes of migration, domestic migrations from one region to the other, as Dar es Salaam, Monza, or Dodoma, but to keep the capacities, the human capacities in their region. And so in that sense, it's important to develop infrastructure, which is the case today, roads, railways, to build capacity from point A, where agroecology products are produced, to go to point B in Dar es Salaam or Monza or Arusha in big cities, quickly, in good conditions, to be sold in markets which can be dedicated specifically to agroecological products. So I mean by that it's a big economy which is using pedagogy, innovation, infrastructure, to keep also the young generation of farmers in their own locations. And in that way, I repeat what I said earlier, but to my view and the view of France, Tanzania can open the path. It means there are very few countries, according to what I know, which have put today agroecology as one of the components, one of the assets of agriculture. And Tanzania can make it. And if we do it together, I'm absolutely confident that new markets will be open for the country. Not only for in Europe, but also in Africa. And I repeat, my view is to say Tanzania can open the path, politically speaking, and you will receive, in that sense, the support of France. I know, but of course, the support of FAO, because we are working in very close hands together. And so, to finish with this point, my point is that we are on a crossroad today. Or we do choose together to change our capacities to produce, to live in safe conditions, or it is a risky situation to accelerate our pesticides, chemical products in the cycle of food of the next generations. And we are responsible today for the next generation. So we are not only working for our generation, but for the next one, and to build up a safe economy based on safe agric products.
You've mentioned a very pertinent issue, Your Excellency, on the aspect of education. You can tell us what are some of the plans, and especially to as far as ecological agriculture is concerned, to ensure that we disseminate this information more widely so that people can now start to practice ecological agriculture.
We have different levels through which we collect knowledge. Here, for us, at macro level, in this case, then we have all kinds of statistics that we collect from different countries, including on agroecology. And we process it and we disseminate it to countries. But more importantly, we also go at practice level, where the real activities actually happen in the field, in terms of linking up with farmers directly to test out innovative approaches, as the ambassador was talking about, working with the producer organizations, working with academia, partnerships with research at country level. Last week I was in Arusha. I visited the World Vegetable Center. They're doing a great job in terms of seed banks for indigenous vegetables, and having these actually disseminated and propagated among farmers. So we do a range of things. Trainings for farmers is one of the other things that we do, or extension workers of government, to ensure that this knowledge reaches to the key people who are meant to diffuse it beyond just the technical people. We have approaches that we have developed over the years. One of them that is known with FAO is the farmer field schools. The farmer field schools is one in terms of disseminating knowledge among farmers, by farmers themselves, creating a learning among the farmers with their indigenous knowledge, but also bringing scientists to work with these farmers to blend that knowledge jointly together. But let me end by emphasizing the point that we actually here are talking about something that is bigger than just one ministry.
Correct.
So when you're talking about agroecology, you're also looking at how you can, in fact, create all these agriculture-related subsectors to work together into a holistic manner, because farmers keep livestock, farmers go to fish, they do aquaculture, farmers go to the forest to collect forest products. How do we make this into one system in a holistic way to be able to meet their needs?
What is the way forward? What is post-Dodoma? What is, in 1 minute, just give us a way forward so that, the audience and especially the public sector.
For me, the way forward first is ecological organic agriculture is here. Everybody should realize that. Fred has said every other person should make an effort towards implementation. It was a very good point. It is not just for crop production, it is for holistic. It is the way we are building our houses, it is the way we are digging our wells, it's the way we are digging our charcoal dams, it's the way we are managing our animals, it is the holistic way, it is what we are seeing now happening with the hospital. So for me, what we are going to put number one emphasis is that task force to have the mind of everybody else. It should not just be the task force for the Ministry of Agriculture. It has to have the forester there, because if agroecology goes very well, we will reduce destruction. It should contain the person from the water. We will conserve and we will create more water available in the society in terms of protecting water sources. It should engage the people of the land, because now it is how we manage the land, how to leave a space which is going to be enough to produce enough for the people, even if it is a limited land, and so on and so forth. And most important is the Ministry of Health also, in terms of associating and coming to conclusion why we've been hearing this, deformed kids are being born, what is the association of that bearing of the deformed kids coming from. So all these areas, and education. How can we have an entry point at a lower level in our schooling for our kids in primary school, in secondary schools, and so on, to start recognizing, to start questioning what they are eating, to start demanding to eat quality, to start demanding to know, so what is the source of this? Is this from Msimbazi River, which is contaminated from all mercury that are coming out? What is the source of this fish? Is this also from the contaminated water? So all those awareness have to start as early as possible. Once we have that institutionalized, it will be better. It is a process.
It is a process.
I agree that it is a process. And for us, all the stakeholders, part of even TOAM and beyond, we are recognizing one step at a time. And every step we make, we are pleased of, yes, now we are somewhere there. We need a very higher level statement. In Zanzibar, we hear the president of Zanzibar talking about we got to go organic, and we are pushing and we are saying it is a selling for Zanzibar. If you declare this island as an organic island, your tourism will just shoot up. Yeah. In the mainland, also possible. Even when you start with this district is an organic district, you are moving, just like what India has done. This region is an organic region, and everybody going to India, you see Taj Mahal, but then you are going to see what is happening in that organic region, organic district. So those are the process that I want to leave the message to the government, to the civil society, to the private sector, that there is a room and there is a possibility to push this agenda, and if we go this way, we all have a win-win situation.
It is a process, and glad that we've started that process and it's ongoing. Your Excellency the Ambassador, just 1 minute to tell us about the international event that is taking place in France this May, June, towards preservation of biodiversity, but also I'm aware that the issues of ecological agriculture will also feature in that important meeting.
Yes, you are very true to say that. First, there will be the World Conservation Congress, which will be held in June this year, 2020, in the south of France, Marseille. The idea is to invite some international institutions such as FAO, some businessmen, some academics, some NGOs, to have an exchange of views with the purpose to define a new governance for ecology. And so the point is to, by gathering all those stakeholders, to try to propose to the UN system a new environmental governance at the level, at the international level. So it will be a very important step for the international community in terms of ecology and environment next June with this international meeting. The other one is the Organic World Congress, which will be held in September 2020 in France, in Rennes, in the west of France. The point is to exchange mainly among responsible of the NGOs, civil societies from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, to the way to create more innovations in agriculture, and how to sustain more equipment, I repeat, innovations, technology, in the way to be respectful with the environment. So these two steps will be very, very important indeed, because they will be before the United Nations General Assembly, for which environments will be, I hope so, at the top of the agenda, and those two moments will permit to the civil societies, to the NGOs, to the different international agencies to speak together and then to make proposals at a high-level international system.
Tanzania can be the leader, and we are having all the support to become a leader to promote agroecological agriculture for the betterment of our nation and for the betterment of the world at large. This was the Monday Agenda. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to my very important guest once again for coming to the Monday Agenda. I'm your host, Makani. Until next time, thank you for watching.